Hello class and welcome to this Yoshi NES guide right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and if you're new to this channel, I'd like to point out we normally do much more difficult games to cover in these walkthroughs. This week, we're giving our TAs a break, at least two of them, because we just came off a very long string of difficult games. 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s, even an 11 out of 10 in terms of difficulty, which seems impossible, but in the context of what we were playing, link in the description by the way, we have our playlist with all of our classes, it makes sense. But in terms of difficulty, Yoshi, not difficult at all. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 1 out of 10, which on the frustration scale equates to shrugging your shoulders, remembering it's just a game. It's all good. That might be our first 1 out of 10 we've ever done. I'm not sure. We might have had one other, but that's the idea this week. One last easy class, and then we'll get back to it next week. But we've given our resident items and boss experts, Blaze and Gary, respectively, the week off. Fluff still has some interesting facts about this game, and I'm going to teach you a thing or two about how this game works. One of my favorite puzzle games for the NES when you just want something nice and easy to play. And that's what this week's class is all about. So let's run the intro and get into this Yoshi NES guide here on Video Games 101. Alright, as we get into the options here for Yoshi, we have two different game types. A is about points, B is about stages. We're just going to stick with A. And we have different levels we can start on. We're just going to start with level 1 right here. Speed, low and high, pretty basic. And then our three different options for background music, or we can turn it off. I think we're going to stick with the star theme right here. We take a look now at the controls for Yoshi. Very basic. A and B flip the tiles, and we can move with left and right as we take a look at the Briggs notes for this Yoshi NES guide. Avoid duplicates on top, we'll talk about that. Prioritize taller columns for clearing first, shorter columns for stashing. But just have a nice time, as I said in the opening. This game is meant to be relaxing, a bit of a breeze, especially after you've played some of the games we've played recently, like Ghosts and Goblins. This is the anti-Ghosts and Goblins. Maybe that would be Goblins and Ghosts. I don't know. We do have ghosts. The Goombas are kind of goblin-esque. So in case you haven't picked up on it by now, the basic premise of this game is to match up the tiles, which the items which fall from the sky, to the tiles we have down on our board at the bottom. And to do that, we just use Mario's arms to flip things left and right. Very basic. We're not going to be showing you the entire game, as that would probably be a 6-hour playthrough. As I said, the game gets very samey very quickly. There are technically 99 levels. It just keeps going, essentially. There's not an ending per se, like a lot of these puzzle games. But yes, we will be showing you selections from levels 1 through 10, essentially. That's about the time I usually quit, around level 10, so get you little pieces here and there. If you get one of these top parts of the shells, those always just break. If we have a bottom part of one of the shells, we can use that to collect other enemies and make just a Yoshi sandwich, essentially. Trap them all in the egg. So it's good for storing a lot of pieces that you don't have on the board necessarily. So we don't have any piranha plants showing, except low down, so that's why I like to collect that in the egg. It's anything we don't have a match for. And while we're chugging along here, let's bring in Fluff to break this up a little bit with our first Fluff fact of Yoshi for the NES. Fluff?
Yoshi was developed by Japanese video game developer Game Freak and was directed by one of the company founders, Satoshi Tajiri. Some students may recognize Tajiri as being the creator of the wildly successful Pokemon video game franchise. In fact, this game was the first collaboration between Game Freak and Nintendo, as Nintendo offered them the chance to develop Yoshi. Tajiri accepted the offer based on a recommendation from an associate to use the development job for Yoshi to give the Game Freak company the financial backing to begin realizing its larger scale project, which would become Pokemon Red and Blue for the Game Boy. While not many may remember this game, the Pokemon series would go on to be one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time and spin off countless TV shows, movies, and merchandise.
Thank you, Fluff. Yeah, it's very cool to see, like, a little game like this, to think of who the powerhouse developers were behind it, and just knowing now what they would go on to create. So you can see we're making a massive Yoshi sandwich right here, and that's a good way to end the level, actually. Nicely done, if I do say so myself. After every level you clear, you get one of these fun little cutscenes as we eat an item of increasing value. And let's jump ahead a couple stages now. We get to use one of our fun transitions. Little wipe right here. Look at that. Very expensive. Don't get to use those enough. We usually air these classes with unedited game footage, so I think for a game like this, you will... Yeah, if you're fast enough, you can make those switches right there. Didn't do us a whole lot of good, actually. Yeah, when they're on level ground, you can't really sneak two of them in like that, but yeah, this game is all about anticipating what's coming next, you know, taking a look at that top bar and reacting accordingly, making sure you keep everything nice and clean. Sometimes if you just want to get rid of those bottom shells, because as I said, the top ones just disappear as they make contact with the ground or the bottom of a shell. But those bottom shells just kind of hang out. So unless you're actively using those to clear out some lines here, make a Yoshi egg sandwich right there. There we go. Then, yeah, it's just might just want to clear those two out. I might just make an empty one right here. Most of the time, they just take up space on my board, so... And see if we can swap this over fast enough. There we go. And while we're showing you level 6 here, let's go back to Fluff one more time. Get another Fluff fact about Yoshi for the NES. What do you got this time, Fluff?
We can't talk about this game without also giving some facts about its titular dinosaur pal of Mario, Yoshi, also barely known by his full name, T. Yoshisaur Munchakoopas. And I think you can figure out the origin of that name on your own. Yoshi made his debut a year earlier in 1990's Super Mario World. Being a fan of horse riding and country and western themes, Super Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto always envisioned Mario as having a dinosaur friend he could ride like a horse. Incidentally, Miyamoto planned for Yoshi to make his debut in the original Super Mario Bros., but the NES's technical limitations didn't allow for it. Inspiration for Yoshi can even be seen in the green dragon which hatches from an egg and eats enemies in Miyamoto's 1984 Devil World.
Never played Devil World, thank you very much, Fluff. Gotta love that Nintendo lore, though. And I did not realize that before, that Miyamoto always envisioned Yoshi being around much sooner, but again, those limitations, being what they were, made it impossible. Finally got it, a practical version of Yoshi in Super Mario World. Ride him around. Sometimes the end here is just a slog, just trying to get the two right enemies to drop in from the sky. Just a touch back, you can clear out that egg right there. When Fluff mentioned earlier about Game Freak being the creators behind the Pokemon series, everything Pokemon, I was deeply obsessed with Pokemon back in the late 90s. Went and saw the movie, loved the TV show specifically. Let's get another wipe right here. About the classic, perfect for Mario, the Star Wipe. I love that. Don't get to use enough of those in these classes, I have to say. Cheesy as they are. And again, we're just trying to keep everything nice and level. Don't give you nearly as much time to react because as you can see on these later levels, this is the last one we'll be showing here, level 10. They start you much higher, so you have to have the reaction speed to flip these around. This is when the game probably hikes up to a 2 out of 10 in terms of difficulty, but we'll keep that 1 out of 10 overall for the average. But as soon as you clear out that top line, it's back to that 1 out of 10, clear sailing. And while we're working our way through level 10, let's get one final Fluff fact about Yoshi for the NES with Fluff.
Another couple fun facts about Yoshi. During the development of Super Mario World, designer Shigefumi Hino was asked by Mario series developer Takahashi Tezuka to create a reptile-like creature based on Miyamoto's sketches. Tezuka deemed the rendering Hino turned in as being too reptilian, and he encouraged Hino to create a cuter character, which became the Yoshi we all know and presumably love. One of the things Yoshi is known for is his swallowing up of enemies with his long tongue. Initially, the idea was Mario punched Yoshi, and Yoshi was so surprised he stuck out his tongue as a reflex. That idea didn't really gel with Nintendo, so the concept was shifted to Mario gesturing forward and Yoshi dutifully sticking out his tongue. Yoshi was so popular in Super Mario World that they ended up focusing on Yoshi's character and species in Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island.
Thanks, Fluff. You know, I'm not sure I ever played Yoshi's Island. I'm sure we'll get to it in time, one way or another, between Let's Play with Brigands and here on Video Games 101. Subscribe if you haven't. Again, I promise you, we do much more difficult games than this. More substantial games. On average, too. My brain kind of shut down for a second there as we were doing the plug, but might add another 30 seconds to this class. But, yeah, I like Yoshi. As I said, I've always had a brain shut down again. I think that's where a lot of the difficulty lies. If you're actually trying to go long in this game, then, eventually you're just seeing the same tiles over and over again, these same little images. Starts to jumble up your brain a little bit, at least. Speaking from personal experience, we can get the twofer right here. Always satisfying. I'll have to ask Mario about that whole smacking Yoshi on the back of the head to get his tongue to come out. Maybe we'll get him on for Yoshi's Cookie. That's the puzzle game, I think, for the NES. Certainly the one involving Yoshi that most players, I think, remember over this one. This one didn't get as much play, I don't think. But, we'll have to do a class on that one eventually as well. But I did always have a soft spot for this one. Possibly because I like games that rely on fast reflexes like this one and quick thinking. The last couple minutes notwithstanding. Last couple of mistakes, I should say. Raining eggs right here. Just waiting to close. Just need the right combination right here. Raining tops of eggs. Get a couple ghosts here to close out our day. It'd be really nice if they let you change out the music between every 10 stages or something at the very least. Once you're locked into that star theme until you die. Gets a little repetitive. There we are. Alright. First 10 levels, with some editing of course, of jumping around, but first 10 levels of Yoshi for the NES. And I'm sure that's meant to be a fruit, but just looks like Yoshi's about to swallow a grenade. Alright, before we find out what that does to Yoshi's digestive system, that's our time for this week. Subscribe if you haven't. We'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.